This video is brought to you by me. If you like what you see, please consider subscribing and pledging your support on Patreon so I can afford to pay my bills and give my cat a break from powering my computer. Okay, so that's the TADC video done and posted, so now I can finally get started on this Spyro project I've been...
Hey, Writin.
Oh, hey internet, what's going on with you?
Well...
That isn't horribly depressing.
Well, the Avatar Aang movie just came out.
Yeah, I know. It's been out since April.
It's officially out now, though.
Really? But I thought the plan was... Huh. Well, guess I can try to be timely for once in my YouTube career. Anything else of interest before the bid ends?
The president of FIFA got his bureaucratic shit kicked in for trying to secretly sell shares of the Federation.
Ha! Fucking loser. Okay, now get out of here, you're leaking paranoia all over my carpet. Right, so for those who missed it, the Avatar Aang movie came out back in July to the general indifference of the internet after the film had been fully leaked back in April for reasons we largely have to speculate on, but in reality aren't that hard to figure out if you understand the industry at all. The film's release date had been shifted around a bunch before settling on an extremely limited theatre run of 2 entire theatres before it was to be tossed in the streaming ghetto on Paramount+. After which the leak happened and Paramount shat itself and moved the streaming release date up to July rather than the apparent original plan of October. I myself originally watched the movie back in May after my friend got me a high quality copy of the leaked film, and I was originally planning on making it a Patreon exclusive video until the proper October release, but the best laid plans of Tandem Mouse and Men, I suppose. Avatar Aang, The Last Airbender, was to be the first project in the newly formed Avatar Studios, a division at Nickelodeon dedicated to telling more stories set in the Avatar universe, though we'll see how that ends up going, considering how layoff and cancel happy the entire entertainment industry has been of late. But anyway, that's enough of the background stuff I barely care about. Let's talk about the film itself. What's the plot? Who's the new sexy bad boy? And most importantly, is the movie any good? Well, I assume you read the title, but let's pretend you didn't for the sake of a more coherent essay. Let's get talking about Avatar Aang, The Last Airbender. So the film starts in flashback mode with Aang racing a group of his peers in a flight through the scenic mountaintops of the Air Nation, and soundly whipping them until that lovable scamp Gyatso drops in to give the kids a handicap, and also teach Aang a lesson about restraint and responsibility before the whole thing morphs into one of those trademark symbolic guilt nightmares which causes him to wake up. Aang is on a journey to collect Air Nomad relics, exploring the old temples on his own and trying to salvage what little remains of his culture in a very poignant scene that's unfortunately interrupted by an action sequence as he's attacked by a bunch of extras from the Crouching Tiger Hidden Dragon remake in what's actually a pretty impressive display of martial arts choreography as he tries to find out who the hell these people are.
Why don't we just talk? Maybe I can help.
We don't need your help, Avatar. We're done living in a world where benders have all the power and we have none.
Who are you?
We're the denied.
The denied.
Oh fuck me, are we doing the equalists again? Right, did you not learn your lesson the first rather damn time through? Whatever. So the Denied, who are different to the Equalists because they're called something else, are a group of non-benders who hate benders for having power they don't, and are here for the statue of some lady named Sonam that Aang found. They're also idiots who nearly kill themselves because Bow Lady is an impatient bitch who explodes the ceiling and brings the place down, but only because she would have killed Rope Dart Girl if Aang hadn't rescued her, which utterly blindsides and baffles the girl, because apparently she's as familiar with the show as fucking Brykar. But she gets over it and then grabs the map that was inside the statue as the building collapses, and then Aang saves them all by going Avatar mode and reassembling it before hightailing it back to Republic City as we fade into a gorgeous extended remake of the show's opening with the benders of the gang all showing off their skills and also the new designs. Also, they give us a little recap of the show's premise to remind you of how much you loved it in the hopes that that love will transfer over to this hot mess, and then we get a fan service laden overview of Republic City as Katara hosts a ceremony that really doesn't matter in the slightest. And then she heals Aang from the injuries he sustained fighting the Denied while also reminding him of the themes of the movie that you definitely won't be sick of hearing by the time this is all over.
You're an airbender, but you're also the Avatar.
Aang then asks the spirits of previous avatars if any of them have any idea who the fuck Sonam is, and gets absolutely nowhere forever until he finds Avatar Shion, a weird little man with an odd obsession with toes.
Are sandals still a thing?
Yes?
Oh, why? Why, after so many years, open toes, seeing someone else's crusty cuticles? Disgusting. Wait, that was my ex, Sony Young. If only she didn't have those humongous toenails. Ugh, disgusting.
Fortunately, Shion manages to set his toe phobia aside long enough to reveal that Sonam was an avatar from the so-called Golden Age of Airbending, who had a staff of infinite spirit power, but she somehow disappeared so thoroughly that not even the other avatars could commune with her. And armed with the knowledge that Sonam disappeared from the world on Mount Baihu, Aang fucks off and leaves Katara with instructions to gather their friends and follow him, which gives us a quick check-in with each of them before we head back to Aang. Zuko is stuck buried under bureaucracy and also rocking the long hair. Toph remains the greatest fucking character ever, and Sokka is a JoJo reference.
What are you doing? Read it quickly.
Yes, Grand Chamberlain. Flamio Hartman, how's ruling the Fire Nation? I hope the boring Chamberlain you mentioned in your letters isn't still annoying you. Anywho, to cut to the chase.
I'm still the greatest earthbender in the world! And I'm bored.
And on top of all that,
I was more popular than him.
You're such a liar, Sokka.
Still no Suki though, so... Meanwhile, Aang climbs the mountain and finds a dude frozen in ice that he jailbreaks before having to make a break for it because he caused the entire mountain to collapse. Good job breaking it, hero. He tries to use the Avatar state to get them both to safety, but fails because Bryke are insistent on making it as useless as possible. But then the former Popsicle wakes up and, pulls some complete and utter bullshit, long enough for the gang to save them. The gang then marvels over just how fucking buff and ancient and also hot he is, and no really he's just so fucking cool, you guys. Also, this is what had Twitter up in arms over Zuko supposedly being bisexual.
He smells good for an old guy.
Ew.
What? My senses tell me this guy is pretty attractive.
Stop.
Someone else confirm.
This is serious.
What does attractive even mean?
Just give me a straight confirmation. Is he attractive?
He's very attractive. Huh? What? He is. It's all in the bone structure.
You people are fucking unbelievable sometimes. I mean, I also had canon Zuko as bisexual, but I'm not to be lumped in with the Twitter reactionaries who cry about the gay agenda if they so much as discover a single pride flag in the vast expanse of a sandbox game. I believe in bisexual Zuko because it's the objectively superior headcanon. You believe in bisexual Zuko because you had a heteronormative reaction to the character being the same level of awkward he's always been. We are not the same. Also, am I imagining things, or is this guy kind of familiar? Nah, I'm probably just imagining it. Anyway, Targa wakes up. Oh, by the way, his name is Targa, and has a brief freak out upon seeing Toph for reasons we'll get into later before they gently break the news that he and Aang are the only airbenders left alive.
But on the bright side, you woke up at the perfect time. Everyone will be amazed to see another airbender. Aang's not the last one anymore.
What do you mean, last?
Sorry, did I say gently? Targa reveals that he used to serve Sonam and that she used her staff to give him airbending during the golden age of their air empire and blah-de-blah. They're all gonna go look for the staff to rebuild the Air Nation, which we know won't work because we've all seen Legend of Korra, but who cares about that because road trip, baby! Targa and Aang bond by whipping each other around in the ancient airbending art of gay skydiving, and later share stories before they're interrupted by the Denied attacking them for what are apparently very justified reasons.
We can't risk him getting to the staff first. Kill him! But he spared our lives.
And how many countless were killed in the 100 years waiting for his return?
Where was he when your family was wiped out?
If we want anything to change, we need what the Benders have. Power.
Welp, hard to argue with that sterling logic. So they harpoon the ship and Targa responds by crushing them with air pressure until Aang interrupts him, and everyone works together to make sure the airship doesn't crash and kill them all in a genuinely tense scene that kicks absolute ass, which is only slightly dulled by the fact that Aang nearly got his friends killed, and doesn't regret it because the sunk cost fallacy has got him in his grubby little claws, and also because he still hasn't learned the movie's lesson yet. Also, the destination is the skeletal remains of a bunch of lion turtles, which is appropriate because it represents how the fucking soul of the franchise has long since died. Wait, am I not supposed to acknowledge that? Oh dear. Anyway, Aang heads off to try to commune with Sonam and leaves Targa and the gang to fix the ship, which only Zuko actually does, and Katara notices that he's missing because she's the only one allowed to have a working brain for most of this movie. She follows behind and calls him out on his suspicious bullshit while Aang dances up a little spirit magic and calls forth the staff, which Targa takes as a sign to finally heel turn and try to kill off the gang.
Aang did well getting us here. There is great strength in him. but weakness as well.
Weakness?
Yes. You.
What the hog monkey?
Yeah, I'm not sure how they survived that either. They have another fight, which is impressively choreographed until the writers decide it's time for him to win, and Talkin no-scopes each of them before giving a villain monologue, fucking curb-stomping Aang while he's in the Avatar state, and then stealing Appa and recruiting the Denied, because of course he fucking does. Aang wakes up in the spiritual depression chamber where he finds Avatar Sonam, who reveals that in her time the Airbenders were self-proclaimed peacekeepers with their own empire until the Earth Nation got aggro and she made the staff to create more Airbenders. The first of which was Taga, and she basically sent them into a wood chipper because you can't mediate with imperialism, and they all died horribly. Taga snapped and stole the staff and blah blah de blah, evil form blah blah. Sonam sealed him in ice and then died about it. Also, Aang wakes up to find the gang is still alive because of Deus Ex Katara. No, I'm serious. She fell into spirit water and auto-revived herself, and then revived the others too. It's basically a happy coincidence that they're alive at all. No time to think on that brush with death now though, because it's time to open a portal into the spirit world and try to get back to the city before Darth Wind destroys it, which leads to one of the funniest scenes in the movie.
What? Where's my power pony? Were my hands always this small? Ah! It's Baby Toph! Baby Toph! What the hog monkey? Ah, oh, people! Gran?
That's your sister, you meathead! Give me Toph! There, Toph!
Oh no, Zuko! What happened to your beautiful face? You look like a dried sea squid.
Man, they're really playing up Sokka's secret gay attraction in this movie. Why was the Zuko thing what people latched onto and not Sokka's clearly suppressed homosexual desires? Oh, and they meet a spirit.
Pretty good landing. Whoa! Humans! I love humans! Two brothers, their little sister, and an elderly couple.
Not a couple!
Whoa! Looks like I touched a nerve.
Whoa, no, don't do that. Please don't enable Zutara shippers' delusions here. Also, this guy is the single best part of the movie.
Upon reflection, I've decided I shall help you and your humany friends. What did he say?
Nice work, Momo.
All right, in you go. By the way, no eating anything you find in my teeth, as I'm saving that for later. Ready, set, get steady, and rat. 1 and the 2 and the you know what to do. Blast! I know we haven't known each other very long, but I love you! You don't have to say it back!
I never even learned his name. What a waste. The gang returns to normal as the temple enters the prime material plane, and they attack Taga until the newly powered Denied join the fight, and then they split up to fight each other and also protect the city and its people.
My cabbage!
Just gonna keep milking that meme dry, huh? The Denied overpower the gang because obviously a bunch of mooks who literally just gained airbending can beat the masters who trained the fucking Avatar and fought in a war, but then Sokka comes in on his flying bicycle to let them know the writers have decided that they get to win now, and this totally isn't contrived at all, we promise. Aang fails to stop Taga because the Avatar state is literally useless, and the dude fully rehydrates himself into...
This is what strength looks like!
Okay, the Ganondorf jokes basically write themselves at this point. Whatever, he kicks Aang's ass until he foolishly tries sniping him again, and Aang and takes the staff back to get his own power up, which I'm not above admitting looks kind of cool, even if it's also fucking stupid in concept that they gave him Avatar State 2, this time it's Super Saiyan. And now that the plot determines it to be the right time, Aang finally starts winning. But oh no! He's being corrupted by the spirit power and giving into his hatred, and I'm falling asleep as we speak because oh my god, this is so fucking trite. Whatever, he remembers Gyatso and breaks the staff, and everything goes back to the status quo as Taga dissolves into the wind after an absolute nothing of a speech from Aang about self-forgiveness, and then the movie ends with the construction of Air Temple Island, Sonam finding peace, and Aang taking the air acolytes to explore the temples where they find a whole herd of bison, and also that one denied who had a name that I can't be fucked to look up and don't actually care about, joined them because she was the only one allowed a single shred of humanity, and that is the Avatar Aang movie. Yeah, it's kinda shit. Okay, so in the interest of fairness, let me first go down the list of things I liked about this movie. Flying Bark clearly brought their A game because the animation is consistently fucking gorgeous, and this is especially true for the bending, which looks better than ever. Toph is still the best character and is consistently funny, the fight choreography for the Denied is honestly really great, and I like that Aang's stupid superform takes design inspiration from the Fujin. Also, I like the expanded look at airbending. I made a video about bending a while ago as part of my series of Korra videos, and in it I discussed the intricacies of airbending and how airbenders who play for keeps are fucking terrifying. Which is put on full display in this film with Taga's use of air pressure to crush blimps and fling rocks and all those other things that Zahir wishes he was cool enough to do. And I think that's it? Yeah, that's it. Okay, so this movie is a fucking mess, and it's being made increasingly clear that the original show didn't succeed because of Break, but in spite of them. Thematically, it's all over the place, wanting to be about responsibility and self-forgiveness without actually exploring those themes in any meaningful way, because that would take time away from the precious action scenes, and we can't fucking have that now, can we? And this attitude ultimately harms the film's message because it rewinds Aang's character arc and flattens him into an asshole who keeps recklessly endangering his friends and himself because he feels guilty. A guilt he decides to just get over at the climax after an entire movie of whinging and ignoring the words of everyone but Taga. And the thing is, I don't actually hate the idea of exploring Aang's guilt and grief over his people. There's a lot of potential in examining the after effects of a genocide and the rebuilding of a cultural identity, and also in talking about what healing even looks like, especially when you're supposed to have already overcome it to a certain degree. Aang trained with the Guru, and a large part of that training was accepting his pain and learning to let it go, which isn't really the same as actually starting the healing process, so there was potential here. But we didn't get that. What we instead have is 90 minutes of self-pity and lashing out before Aang just decides to let it go. Which is so fucking lazy. There's barely a trace of the original Aang in here. He's just a brooding dick who also writes carefree letters to the Fire Lord. The whole gang suffers from this approach in writing actually, as for the most part they're just not allowed to be themselves or even really be in the movie. Toph and Zuko are basically just eye candy, and Sokka's been flanderized to hell and back, being both the most over the top he's ever been, while also being far less likable as he just runs his mouth non-stop and brings nothing to the table but gay jokes and JoJo poses. And then of course we have the continuing saga of Break's efforts to murder Katara's personality and replace it with a boring clone. I've talked about this before, people have the rather annoying habit of simplifying Katara down to just being motherly, and ignoring the fact that she was, in fact, a furious princess of the sea who was ready to throw down with anyone at any time, and once tried to punch her grandpa for being a misogynistic piece of shit. Katara's entire character arc was learning how to channel her anger to make it more productive, but everything fun or interesting about her has been sandblasted off to make her just another stock, quietly supportive girlfriend healer wife. Where's the fire? Where's the fucking passion? The real Katara would be burning with righteous fury at Taga for betraying Aang, but here she just blandly scolds the dude until he tries to kill her. This isn't the real Katara. I want my real Katara back. How do you think the real Katara would react to seeing this shit?
I'm completely calm!
Yeah, like that. Honestly, the gang itself is almost entirely superfluous to the actual plot. You could replace them with the secret tunnel band and lose very little for 90% of the film. And they only exist because the writers know people like them, and that the audience wouldn't be on board with the premise if they weren't in it. They are here out of obligation, which is why they're so bereft of charm or impact. But it wasn't just the charm the writers removed from the gang, they removed their competence as well. Outside of the airship scene, no member of the gang can go one fight without getting absolutely clowned on by people who should be beneath them, which gets fucking ridiculous the longer the film goes on. And this actually leads us to another big problem, that being that Taga is way too fucking strong. Taga is ludicrously overpowered, capable of curb stomping the entire gang on his own and running roughshod over the Avatar state with zero effort even before he gets his power up. But the most ludicrous example of this is when he wakes up. Aang couldn't avoid the falling mountain with the aid of the Avatar state, and this guy held up the entire thing on his own the fucking second he wakes up from his 5,000 year long ice coma. This is absolute bullshit beyond anything else, and it only happens because Breik are shit writers. See, the thing about Breik, and this was a problem with The Legend of Korra too, is that they don't know how to contend with the Avatar state. A fully realized Avatar is the single most powerful bender in the world, especially with the Avatar state, and that means that actually fighting them is next to impossible. And this is a problem because Breik really wanted to make Taga a legitimate threat. But finding a way to make it work that isn't just brute forcing the plot is hard and doesn't lead to big bombastic action scenes, so they just made him ludicrously strong from the word go, which is boring. This was why Korra's Avatar state was routinely made fucking useless, and the same effect has been applied to Aang's, because he can barely stop a fucking tower from falling without nearly passing out. And this is combined with Taga being the single most powerful bender on the planet for no other reason than contriving a way for him to kick everyone's collective ass with zero effort until it's just decided that it's time for Aang to win because Breik are fucking hacks. This extends to the Denied as well, as these chumps who gained airbending less than an hour ago somehow managed to defeat masters of 3 different elements with zero trouble, but somehow can't stop Sokka from riding his bike all over their faces? In what world does that make any kind of sense? Taga would have worked much better as a sneakier villain, someone whose greater technical skill and knowledge of forgotten techniques would allow him to finesse his way around Aang to get the staff to match the way he was emotionally manipulating him, which they could have actually pulled off very easily with what they already had set up. But that would also mean a couple less fight scenes, which was apparently out of the fucking question. No, this is just contrivance after contrivance because Breik wanted the villains to pose a real threat, but couldn't figure out how to do that without nerfing the heroes until the arbitrary point in the plot where they're meant to win, because the writers just could not be fucked to come up with an enemy where the solution isn't just violence. Because they don't want to make Avatar, they want to make a shonen battle anime. Also, this movie is a midquel. Now, that's not a problem in its own right, but it becomes one when you consider that the stakes are just too fucking high and don't work for the placement in the timeline. It's entirely possible to do a midquel well, but the stakes have to be lower and more personal to really sell it to the audience, because we know that any major potential shakeups won't actually take because we already know what comes next. So we already know that they're not going to permanently make more airbenders, and we know they're not going to destroy the city or kill the gang because they're both still there in Korra, and the creation of more airbenders is the major inciting incident of season 3. All of this means that the events of this movie are entirely inconsequential, but none of that matters because Breik wanted to go bigger and more bombastic without care or consideration for the fact that it'll just be empty spectacle with zero impact or connectivity. And that's a problem if you want people to be emotionally invested in any part of this movie. If you raise the stakes too high, the audience straight up will not believe you, which is exactly what happens here. Returning fans won't believe it because they already know what happens, and newcomers won't believe it because it's a movie attached to a show, and you're not going to do anything that consequential in a tie-in movie. No one's gonna buy this. The Denied are probably the worst part of the movie, by the way, because they're just the fucking equalists again, but stripped of any pretensions of nuance because Breik cannot let go of their fucking hatred for the Occupy Wall Street movement and refuse to accept that the equalist plot was fucking garbage. It's so much worse here though, because the Denied are just a bunch of murderous, power-hungry assholes who indiscriminately attack anyone who's not them, except for Rope Dart Girl, who's meant to be the only good one. Bow Lady screams in every scene she's in about how benders ruin everything, and then the first thing they do when given airbending is say Operation 9/11 is a go, and then try to murder the city. They're not good villains. They're not even fun villains. They only exist to give the rest of the gang someone to fight and to fuck up the thematic cohesion. Though honestly, they couldn't do much worse to the theming than the writers themselves. Actually, you know what? That pretty much sums up my entire feelings on this thing, because no matter what I say or how mean I am about this, nothing can be worse for this film than what the writers already did to it. You know, The Last Airbender was a really good show. It wasn't perfect, it had its problems, but it was undisputably very good, and people recognize it was good, which is why so many people tried for the longest time to find the next Avatar, until they just decided to make more of it. But the problem I found with all of this more is that none of it wants to be Avatar. It just wants the name recognition. Legend of Korra wanted to be about politics despite the creators having the political literacy of Goldfish. The Netflix show wants to be Game of Thrones, and indeed, this movie wants to be a shonen battle anime, but none of those things were what Avatar was, so they inevitably disappoint because they fail to understand what made Avatar so good. Especially when it comes to this movie. I mean, fuck me, even the Netflix show is better at being Avatar than this thing is. And that's a problem. At its core, The Last Airbender was a fucking road trip story. It was about a group of friends traveling the world and interacting with different people and cultures and growing in accordance with that, which is the actual point of the Avatar journey itself. The heart of Avatar is a character-driven journey between people who care about each other and how they grow and develop as people thanks to it. And that is what truly resonated with people. It had action scenes and bending and cool villains and all that stuff, but they weren't the point. They were the auxiliary features that enhanced it. And that point is entirely missed by this movie in service of, well, I guess it has some pretty fight scenes. Despite invoking the name, the film fundamentally fails to understand the show that inspired it. It just holds up the show and yells, "Remember this? Remember this?" without having anything to add to it. This is why it's filled with so much fan service, by the way, because reminding you of the show is really all it has going for it. But outside of the animation, everything is worse. The characters are flatter and less charming, the story is weak, the world is less interesting, and all it can really do is try to remind you of the thing you loved and hope your nostalgia does the heavy lifting for it. Remember the Cabbage Man? Well, he's in this movie, and they even do the thing.
My cabbages! My cabbages!
This isn't funny anymore. The Cabbage Man was a one-off episodic character who was fucking funny, but they keep doing him over and over and over and losing more of what made him work each time. So now their only option is to do him louder and pretend that makes up for it. And I just don't think it does. I don't think Avatar makes up for itself anymore because nobody wants to make Avatar anymore. They just want to pretend that they're being it. I honestly don't think I'd recommend this movie. If you're looking for a pretty action film, then this will serve your needs well enough. But if you're looking for more Avatar, then you're going to be sorely disappointed. Speaking of disappointment, if you're wondering why the movie was kept from theaters and thrown into the streaming ghetto when you and a million other people would have gone to see it, the answer is royalties/residuals. Creators are given a cut from movie sales and other things like that, but the laws that guarantee that payout don't actually apply to streaming, which is a major problem because not only does it deprive creators of the money they deserve, but it also incentivizes greedy assholes to hold more creative work hostage so they can hoard more money because corporations are all bastards, and that's why piracy is a victimless crime and also why laws need to be updated, oh my fucking god. Look, this movie is not worth getting a Paramount Plus account for. I'd argue nothing is worth giving Paramount your money after the shit they pulled, but you know, that's just me. It might be worth pirating, but you'd honestly be better served by rewatching the real Avatar and looking at it with fresh eyes, and maybe refamiliarizing yourself with the characters to drive the flanderized fanins out of your fucking head and reminding yourself why the show was so good in the first place. The lesson to be taken from this is not that we need more Avatar, but, you know, different this time because eventually, surely, we'll get it right and we'll get the next Avatar again, and Avatar will be good again. No, really, guys, just hold your breath and keep trying. The lesson to be taken from this is to put the same amount of passion and care and work into whatever you make that the creators of The Last Airbender did. We don't need, and we're never going to get, another Avatar because we already have Avatar and it was good. So maybe it's time to just let it be good and move on to something else that's good. Or don't, whatever, I'm not the fucking boss of you. Anyway, thanks for watching and I love you all. Yes, even you in the back with the boot in your mouth and the hateful comment typed off. Okay, have a lovely day. Bye.